Hi everyone. So in this video what we are going to do is to basically create the next part of our data model, and this is the very central part, which is to create a rental order. So in order to do that, let's go ahead. Here's the feature description. As a rental business employee, I want to create an order on stock items for a particular customer so that I can rent my stuff. So the to-dos for now would be, first of all, creating the order entity, and then, in order to connect to it to a stock item, we also need line item or an order line entity, and then associate that with the customer and the stock item. So this video will be mainly about the data model, and then in the next one we will create the UIs and add the tests and so on. So let's get started. First thing here, create another data model entity here, which we will call order, and this should live under the order subpackage, and the parent will be standard tenant entity. So just as we have done it before. And so the first thing will be that we need an order date, and this order date will be of type local date. It should be mandatory, and additionally here we have a section for validation where we can already annotate this, and I think future or present this should already do the trick, and not null we can also annotate it with. And then the second thing is to create the customer association. So this will be attribute type association, and then we select the customer, and here it will be many to one. So this means several order entities objects are associated with 0 or 1 customer object. So this is exactly what we want, except for the part with the 0. So let's make it mandatory. And with that, we can already close it. Also add the bean validation here. And so then the next thing would be that we create another entity, which we'll call order line, and this should also go into the order subpackage, and it will be standard tenant entity as well. So for the order line, what we will have is we want to have a reference to the stock item. So let's create that and make it an association many to one as well, and also make that mandatory, and add the not null constraint. Then the second thing is that we want to connect it to an order. This is now, we could also do that as part of this composition creation, like the reference from the order to the order line. But for now, I will already do it here, at least for this side. It should also be mandatory, and it should be not null. And then what we probably additionally need is to have information about when the rent starts and when the rental ends. So let's call it starts at, and the data type will be, in this case, let's make it local date time, although perhaps later we want to associate it with a time zone or something, but for now I think this is just fine. And perhaps, I think for now it's fine. We can also leave it like this. Starts at should always be set, I guess. And it should be, well, we could make it future or present, but I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, I think for now we can actually activate that. Let's go ahead and do that. And then we have ends at, which would be as well a data type, and then local date time. And here we can apply the same constraints. Okay, so with that, we already got the baseline of our entity model covered. And if we go back to our order, what we now can do is to say we want to have the composition for the order lines, and this will be one-to-many. And here we now have the reference from the order line object that I already created. It's already selected, and this should already do this connection. So then what we can additionally do is go ahead here and create instance names. So first of all, for the order line, I will just create the instance name here, which will be just the stock item. And if we do that, then we get an annotation on the stock item. So this means that it will just take the instance name of the stock item also as the instance name of this order line. And since this is the identifier here, this will actually basically represent this order line with the identifier of the stock item. So let's see if we want to keep that like that, or print out some information about the product as well. And then the next thing is that if we go to the order, we can also add an instance name, and this highlighting here already indicates that we are missing something. And then if you hit Alt Enter or Option Enter on the Mac, then you can see there's a quick hint for add instance name. And in this case, I would like to make it a composition, or basically like a collection of two attributes. First of all, the order line, and then the customer. And if we now do that, we get a method called getInstanceName with the instance name annotation. And right now it will just basically just print out the order date and the customer as it is. What basically this is calling the toString representation of this local date class here, and the toString method of this customer. So this is probably not what we want, because the toString method of the customer is actually not the instance name. So the way how we can achieve that is that there is the possibility here in this method to define parameters. And one parameter that we can use is metadata tools. And this metadata tools has a method which is called getInstanceName. So this means it returns the instance name of a given object or a given entity. And this is actually what we want. And the mechanism in Jmix will actually inject the correct bean here into our method as a parameter. And so with that, we basically can access particular beans that we need. And we can do the same thing actually for the order date, because we also do not want to have the standard toString representation, but instead we can actually look at what the current user has as its locale settings, and then it should be rendered like this. And for that, there is another bean which is called data type formatter. Exactly, and this bean here, if we go into this method, has a method called format local date. And this basically takes basically from the main message group, basically takes the corresponding formatting information about the current for the current user. So this means we have actually then achieved that it's correctly displayed, even if we have different locale settings in our user. So what we have is this format local date, and then we can basically do it like this and add, perhaps let me just reorder that here. Yeah, perhaps format it like this. I think this will be enough. And with that, I think we now have modeled out our new domain of the order and the order line, and then the connection to the stock item and the customer. Perhaps there's one last thing which I forgot last time, which is worth mentioning. So right now all of the entities extend standard tenant entity, and this attribute here is just treated as a regular attribute. What this means is that Jmix Studio, like when we generate the screens in the next video, it will actually also generate a column for, in the list and the editor, it will actually generate just the components as if it would be a regular column or a regular attribute that we want to explicitly set. But since this is not the case, there's one annotation that we can use, which is called system level. And this system level annotation basically says that this particular field, or this particular entity, is something that should not be present for end users, either in the UI generation, or if you have a filter selected or something like this, then it should just be excluded. And this is what we want here, because the tenant attribute will never be actually manually edited. So with that, I think we can say generate the Liquibase changelogs, and let's take a look on the result. So first of all, let's give it a name. This will be create order or orders. So first we have a new order table. So regular stuff, we have this reference to the customer, order date, and all the standard information here. And then the second thing is the order line table, which we'll also create, connecting it to an order, and then additionally connecting it to a stock item. And then additionally, what we will have is to have a unique foreign key constraint on the order ID attribute and on the stock item. And the same goes for the order table, where we will basically connect it to the customer. So with that in place, I think we can start our application and see if our changelog worked. Yeah, so this is the case. So with that, I will just go ahead and create a branch. And the corresponding GitHub pull request as well. So our to-dos for the first video we have actually achieved. So carving out this data model is working now just fine. So let's close this for now, and in the next video what we are going to do is then to generate the screens and take a look on if we need to do some adjustments there, and then also write some tests for the data model, and then also for the screens. Okay, thanks for watching, and see you next time.